It was raining hard that morning. Mia Parker, a single mother of two, stood in line at a small roadside cafe, shivering in her old coat, holding the last few dollars she had left for the week. Her youngest son's lunch money was barely enough, her rent was due in 2 days, and her car engine had coughed its last breath the night before. And yet, when she looked up, she saw him. A tall, tired-looking man in a soaked jacket stood at the counter, fumbling for his wallet, his hands trembling, his eyes distant, lost in thought. The cashier was growing impatient. Something in Mia's heart whispered, "Help him." Without thinking, she stepped forward and said softly, "Don't worry, I'll pay for his coffee." The man looked at her in quiet surprise, his deep blue eyes meeting hers for the first time. He tried to refuse, but she smiled faintly and said, "Sometimes, we all need a warm cup and a little kindness." He nodded, grateful but strangely quiet. She never asked his name. She didn't know that her small act of kindness would change her entire life by the next sunrise. Because the next morning, the ground outside her house began to shake, and a helicopter was landing on her front lawn. And when the door opened, it was him. The woman who never stopped trying. Mia Parker lived in the small town of Willow Creek, a place where everyone knew everyone, and yet somehow, no one ever really saw her. Her husband had left 3 years ago, unable to handle the pressure of raising a child with autism. Mia had picked up 2 jobs, a cashier by day and a night cleaner at the hospital. Her life had become a blur of exhaustion, bills, and endless hope that someday, things would get better. That rainy morning at the cafe wasn't unusual. She was on her way to work, late as always, trying to hold everything together. But when she saw that stranger, his eyes carrying the same kind of loneliness she felt every night, she couldn't walk away. After paying for his coffee, she sat in her car and stared at the receipt. She had just spent her last $5. But somehow, she didn't regret it. There was a strange peace in that simple act. What Mia didn't know was that the man she helped wasn't an ordinary traveler. He was Daniel Holt, a billionaire CEO of a tech company who had walked away from his own private jet the night before after learning his younger brother had died in an accident. Daniel had wanted to disappear, to find some piece of humanity again in a world of money and power. And in that small cafe, a woman with tired eyes and a kind smile reminded him what it meant to care without reason. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her, about the way she smiled despite her struggles, how her hands shook when she paid, and how real her kindness felt. By dawn, he had made a decision. He would find her, and repay her in the most unexpected way. The sound came first, deep, thundering, shaking the windows. Mia ran outside, shielding her eyes from the wind as dust swirled around her front yard. A sleek black helicopter was descending from the clouds. Her 2 kids, Lily and Ben, peeked from the window, wide-eyed with wonder. When the blades slowed and the door opened, she froze. It was him. The man from the cafe. Dressed now in a crisp suit, stepping down with a calm authority that made her heart pound. "Mia Parker," he called over the noise. She nodded, completely speechless. He smiled softly. "You paid for my coffee yesterday, and I couldn't sleep until I found you." Confused, she stammered, You didn't have to do that, sir. It was just coffee." He shook his head. "It wasn't just coffee. It was kindness. Something I'd forgotten even existed." He stepped closer and handed her an envelope. Inside was a document, a deed, and a letter. The letter read, "You reminded me what real humanity feels like. This house, the van outside, and a full scholarship fund for your children, they're yours. Because sometimes, one act of kindness deserves another that can change a life." Mia's hands trembled. "I can't accept this. I don't even know you." Daniel smiled faintly. "You don't need to. You already knew the part of me that mattered most, the broken part that needed hope." Tears welled in her eyes. She looked at her children, then back at him. Why me? He looked toward the horizon.